All right, guys, again, some little more review for Unit 3. So we're going to review solving a linear system by graphing today. So what does a system of equations mean? A system of equations is two or more equations with two or more unknowns. And we'll talk about this more here in a minute. What does the solution to the system represent? The solution to the system represents the intersection of the lines it's the solution to both equations. Okay, so as we look at these problems, we have two or more equations. Okay, they're in our y equals mx plus b form. So which point is the solution to the system? A, B, C, or D? What you need to do here is take your x and y and plug it into the equation and make sure they equal each other. If it does not equal, those points do not work. So what I mean by that is we're going to use y equals 5 halves x minus 2, and I'm going to plug in the x value and the y value. So I'm going to go ahead and start by plugging in for a. I'm plugging in 3 for y equals 5 halves, plugging in x, which is negative 3 minus 2. So now I'm going to multiply that. If I plug 5 halves times negative 3 minus 2 into my calculator, I would get negative 19 over 2. As you can see, 3 does not equal negative 19 over 2, so A would not be my solution. Now we're going to do this again for B. So I'm going to take B, and I am going to plug in my x and y for B. So I will take negative 3 equals 5 halves times negative 3 minus 2. We know that this is already 19 halves. Same as before, negative 19 halves, okay? Same x value, so we know that's the same. But now my y value is negative 3. Again, negative 3 does not equal negative 19 halves, so B is not my answer either. Now I'm going to plug C, so the 0.23 in. So I am going to plug in 3 for y, 5 halves times 2 for x, minus 2. So this would give me 5 halves times 2, cancels out these 2's. I get 5 minus 2, which equals 3. 3 equals 3. Yes, so my answer would be C. All right, moving on to number 2. X plus 4y equals 12 and x plus 4y equals negative 12. So when they are the same, okay, same x, same y, but opposite values here, that means they are parallel lines, okay? And you can make sure of this by setting these both equal to y. If I took x plus 4y equals 12 and solve for y, I'm going to subtract x. Hit 4y equals negative x plus 12. Y dividing by 4 now. Y equals negative x over 4, so negative 1/4 x plus 3. And so I am basically going to get the same thing for the next one. The only difference is that I have a negative 12 here, so I'm just going to start from the second step and change it to a negative 12, dividing by 4. Y equals negative x over 4 minus 3, okay? So they have the exact same slope, they just have different starting points, makes them parallel lines. So that means they would never intersect because they're just going side by side the entire time. So our answer would be no solution, okay? So make sure you're always setting m equal to y to see if something like that is happening. All right, moving on to number 3. Solve each system by graphing. So we're going to do what we did before and graph the lines, okay, like what we did in the last video, with my starting point at +4 and -4. We'll start with this one here. So +4, I am going up 7, right 2. So I can't go any further up that way, so I'm going to go down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, down to the left 2. Okay. So there's my first line. Now my second line, okay, starting at -4, and it is a -1/2, so I'm going to go down 1 to the right 2. Then I'll go up 1 to the right 2. See, they intersect at the same point right there. Up 1, right 2. And there is my line for the second one. So my solution for this problem would be this point of intersection right here, which is -2, -3. Okay, and that would be your answer right there. So if we plugged -2 in for x and -3 in for y, it would equal each other in both equations, okay? Same thing for 4, okay? So we are starting with our b value, our y-intercept, okay, at -3. My slope is -2/3, so I'm going down 2, right 3, up 2, left 3, up 2, left 3. Can't go any further, so there's our first line. Now our second line, I am starting with my y-intercept, my b value at 2. So making my point on the y-axis at 2. My slope is x, so over 1, so 1/1. I'm going up 1/1, up 1/1, up 1/1. Going down 1, left 1. There's our point of intersection. So that point of intersection right here would be -3, -1. That would be our answer for 4. All right, moving on. Question 5. As we can see, they are not in our form of y equals mx plus b. They need to be moved into this form. So we're going to start with this first one, and we will subtract the x over first. So we're solving for y. I get -2y equals -x plus 6. Putting it in as my mx plus b form. Divide by -2 to get y by itself. I get y equals -1 divided by -2 gives me a positive 1/2 x. And then 6 divided by a -2 gives me a -3. So we can go ahead and graph that line. -3 is my y-intercept, so I am going to plot that on the y-axis, -3. And then I am going up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. And I'll go back to my y-axis point. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Okay, so there is my line for the first one. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for the next line, 3x minus y equals -2. Solve that for y by subtracting 3x on both sides. I get -y equals -3x minus 2, dividing by -1 on both sides. Okay, I get y equals negative 3x divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 3x. You can keep it over 1 if you want, since it is the slope. And then negative 2 divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 2. Again, going to start by graphing my y-intercept, which is positive 2. And then I will use my slope, 3x, so that's 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. There's my point of intersection. Okay, so that point of intersection right here is negative 2, negative 4. That would be your answer for 5. All right, with 6, doing the same kind of thing we did in 5, putting them both in the y equals mx plus b form. I'm going to start with 2x plus y equals 3. Subtract 2x on both sides. I get y equals negative 2x plus 3. Go ahead and plot that, starting with my y-intercept of negative 3, or positive 3, sorry. So positive 3. My slope is a negative 2, okay? It's negative 2 over 1. Remember, if it's just a whole number, just put it over 1. So that means I'm going down 2 to the right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. Now I'll go back to my y-axis, my intercept point, up 2, left 1. There is my line for the first one. And then my second one, 5x minus y equals 4. Subtract 5x on both sides. I get negative y equals negative 5x plus 4. Now I have a negative y. I want that to be positive, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. I get y equals negative 5x divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 5x. And 4 divided by negative 1 just gives me a negative 4. Going to graph that now, starting with my y-intercept of negative 4. My slope is 5x, so 5 over 1. It is positive, so I'm going up 5, right 1, 5. That's as far as we can go here, so got our point of intersection. And that would be 1, 1. So that would be our answer for 6. And that is review of graphing lines. So you will need to know how to do everything so far to continue learning about Learning Target 1, Unit 3. Have a great day, guys.